Hello, back here with another video. So this is a comment this is from one of the cleanup woman videos Kendall St had up, and I don't remember which one. It was like maybe a 3 or 4 part series, but I saved this when I was reading it. I wish I'd screen grab more looking back, and I should start doing that. I'll probably do that more often going forward too, but this is one of many of those really like those comments you read that you end up saving. And you're like, whoa, because there's so much there. So what I'm going to do is just read it in full. And then you can kind of see I have a few things underlined that I would like to address individually. And I think I'm going to follow up. There's a second comment on Facebook, but I've noticed with this setup that I have currently, but not forever, it's easier to do the slightly longer video, then come back around with the few minutes that's left in this little sequence to do the second one. So watch this one once it's uploaded. I'll have one right behind it. So this is a comment by 90 Supermodel, and this was from, again, the Cleanup Woman series that Kendall St. did. Don't know which part, but anywho. I'm starting to think that what the black man considers racism is really just the byproduct of the white man knowing the truth about him all along. Or maybe I'm just that divested I can look at it from that angle. But I believe the white man knows the black man's been lying to black people about slavery and has been single-handedly taking the blame for it. The white man knows who was at the gate and knows about the black man's centuries of corrupt leadership. That's why the black man has set him out to be the greatest threat to blackness. But it's the black man who is the real racist. The black man is a real perpetrator of colorism. While he is trying to convince the world that the white man hates him because of his skin color, reality is the white man hates him due to his inherent lack of character, integrity, and moral conduct. Any one of us would be right not to want black men around our daughters or sons even. We wouldn't want our children corrupted by their degrading music and music videos, their culture of degeneracy, trash TV, unsafe neighborhoods, broken family values, etc. The white man is just protecting his community and what he's built from the black man and the black woman who support his corruption. Yeah, maybe white people have had pride and prejudice and have been discriminating towards those things which do not suit their greater purpose, but we should all have those standards. The white man's values, his moral integrity, his culture, his class, which has excluded black men, has nothing to do with skin color, has everything to do with protecting his community and what his forefathers have built. It's no different than when they criticize heavy metal and rock because the suburban white kids are going crazy, doing drugs, and becoming devil worshippers. The black man has no moral integrity and doesn't deserve even the small bit of goodness he's created. Neither do the black women who continue to support his dysfunction and corruption. So that comment is really, it covers so many different arenas, and I just found myself really taken by it. So I'm just going to go through some of the points. And I think what I'm going to do, stay with me. I'm just going to put the phone down. You've seen it, I read it, and I'll just reiterate the underlying points as I move through them. Okay, so the first sentence, I'm starting to think that what the black man considers racism is really just the byproduct of the white man knowing the truth about him all along. And I wholeheartedly agree. And that's one way that I love how she phrased that, because it really kind of is a way that I've always, well, at least maybe the past maybe 20 years, so much half of my life, have thought about this. It's not a lot of things that black people today, and even when I was growing up and starting to get these inklings of what would later just become kind of a honest race realism amongst myself, is noticing that white folks just don't hate you or this, that, and the third. There's just a byproduct of knowing the truth, understanding that there's things that make us different than them, and it's just this very basic sense that we just kind of go, well, it's just racism. No, it's them noticing this isn't cool, this isn't correct. There's a comment on some channel, I can't remember where it was, but it seemed pretty honest. But, it's internet comment sections. We have to take everything with a grain of salt. And the woman claimed to be white, and she just mentioned, she wrote this anecdote about having some black man came over to her and her husband's house to do some type of service or whatever. And she's like, it was so weird. He just started talking about how, it's something, just casual conversation. There's something about black women. He can't stand black women. They be doing this, that, and the third. And she said, I just found it really odd that he would just start saying this. And we were just very oh, okay. Taken aback that he just felt the need to say that. So there's some of these things that they just notice about us that aren't racism. They're just seeing things in us that are there. Anyway, so the next point is that I had underlined is it's the black man who's the real racist. The black man is the real perpetrator of colorism. Now, interestingly enough, there's a big discussion between so KsC, she has the dark skin platform, dark skinned women, and Isadora Storm just started a splinter channel called Light Skin Tears, or Light Skin Tears, and also on Facebook there was a thread I stumbled on. I think it was a Brianna Nouveau. If you see her on Facebook, I mean, she's amazing. She writes some of the best commentary, and she just hits you with this sharpness. And so there's a lot of discussion on one of her threads about this too that was really going all over the place. It's funny now that, so let me back up. So this whole colorism thing, the part of it is, yes, the light skin versus the dark skin versus the biracials, and the competition for the black man's eye is something that needs to be discussed, because it's not just recent. It's like this long-standing issue in our race that we have to talk about, and black women themselves have to start addressing in themselves and check. But the interesting thing that's happening is I really agree with her point, and I'm not disagreeing. I'm just making a counter to what I was reading today and what the discussions has shifted to, is because it's also that black women, you can't just go say, because a lot of the lighter skinned and biracial women in these threads, and now that this kind of new channel has come up and this discussion that's been evolving over some time is, why do you guys care what a failed race of men care about, and that they like us? Why do you even care? And I get completely where they're coming from, and it's like I agree with everyone, all different sides. It's just these bigger pieces that make up a whole. So it's like, in a way, everyone is kind of right, but we have to put these pieces together into this whole, because the dark-skinned women are right about their feelings of being denigrated and watching lighter skin and biracial women put on a pedestal. But then if I move over to the light-skinned side of things, to their shoes, and say, is dark-skinned women, because I know a lot of them have these stories of darker-skinned black women particularly, beating them up, yelling at them, being angry and vicious, trying to cut their hair, set them on fire, doing all kinds of fucked up stuff to them, because and I've been thinking about this recently as I started my memoir, at least an early memoir about parts of my life growing up as a young black girl. There was always these girls, I can think of there's two of them in particular, who were the light girls that everyone liked and wanted to be around. And then there was always the darker skinned girl or two who was really cool and down with everybody, and the guys liked her too a bit. But, there was always that one light-skinned girl, or kind of racially ambiguous girl. I remember first grade, the one girl, the one that everybody wanted, she was her mother was black and her father was Puerto Rican or Mexican or something. But the other girl was just a very fully black, just very light-skinned girl. So, just not to go too much onto a tangent, a part of the issue with the black man as the perpetrator of it and being the center does have to shift, because as black women, we have to, the discussion now with all the changes and all the things going on has shifted more to black women have to start owning their own shit. As you see with CK and Kendall leaving YouTube, not that Kendall hadn't always been below ground, but just coming up here and there to kind of do whatever. The main point is we finally got to the point where now black women have to start looking at themselves. And I love how she said it once, when I started this platform, I had to talk to y'all about y'all. I had to talk about this black male to get you to pry your hands off of him, to start looking at yourself. And it's so interesting watching everything that's happened the past few weeks, because that's funny, because that's literally what's been going on, but you can see the resistance. So this black male, the perpetrator, yes, it makes sense in terms of music videos, the women they choose to wife up. And I'll just do one more side tangent here about that point, because I could just have a whole video about this point. I was thinking about this today, and I think once I get everything up with the screen sharing, I want to do a video just dedicated completely to that scene in Jungle Fever. If you've seen the movie, the old Spike Lee movie, Wesley Snipes, the scene where the black women are sitting around, some are mixed, some are just light, some are dark skinned. They're all friends of the mixed woman whose husband, Wesley Snipes, has been kind of run off with this secretary Italian girl from the rough working class part of Brooklyn, or where it is, Bedford-Stuyvesant or whatever. And the conversation is so, I remember getting really angry, because I know she means we got these black women, we got to check our shit. Because if a conversation like this was happening, that a black man like Spike Lee could fictionalize into a film in the late 80s, early 90s, This conversation is still the one black women are having. It's about almost literally 30 damn years later. Oh, well, it's the lights, the dark skin, and how come, they do this and they don't want us no more. And then one woman's like, oh, we should date out. And it was it's such a funny scene. Maybe I'll just make a video over the weekend, just play it so y'all can start watching and get ready. Because I swear I'm going to do a video just on that scene and really pick apart and contextualize into what these discussions we're having as black women today are. And the saddest part is we're still having that same scene in that movie over and over again. Now things have changed, and it's like the iceberg is slowly moving, but again, so let me just move on. The next point that she makes is the white man hates him due to his inherent lack of character, integrity, and moral conduct. And I was just taking that and unpacking it from there. A lot of what has been transpiring, I would say, it's from 1965, which is interesting because the alt-right and the white nationalist dissident right, when they talk about immigration, the changing demographics in America, they talk about 1965 kind of being that watershed moment, the Hart-Celler Act, and the kind of culmination, a lot of the civil rights movements, the social movements, the legal changes, etc., as being this kind of focal point in the modern part of American history is they kind of have these benchmarks and landmarks. I think for us as black women, particularly in these scenes, we can look at that time too as being a specific point in the shift where all these social changes open up, and we've just passed Loving versus Virginia. You have the kind of shift in the music culture where black men and women are like singing songs. I mean, they're less of like the kind of, the 50s and the 60s changes everything musically for everyone, race, across the world. So the shift in this past if I say 50, 60 years, a lot of these things that this black man thought he was just going to be able to do forever, it's like, this is black people as a whole. We don't realize we've been living in this kind of bubble where, forever the white man was just going to prostrate himself and, say, oh, we're so sorry, slavery, racism. And it's just been this bubble. So they kind of just have let a lot of these things slide. So that's why that last series of the Weirdness for Chris video, one of the big things I wanted to pick that apart. And there's other people, and particularly some whites, particularly some of these, like I said, Aaron Clary, Davis Arini, I really like their thoughts, but they're kind of examples of white men in particular who are enabling a lot of these problems and they don't realize it. There's this problem of like this black male, particularly, and this black woman who gives birth to him and keeps enabling this dysfunction and happily participates in it way too more often than not, is that this won't continue forever. And there's just been this bubble of thinking that, that not having character, integrity, moral conduct, are not developing that as a race, as a people, has just been so shielded and, babied and, woo-wooed, being able to basically, under threat of racism, call some white person a racist, or trying to sucker them into or lying and say that they called you a nigger or something, having white people on this kind of tight wire to jump. Well, you didn't factor in NAFTA. You didn't factor in that wages have been declining since the 70s. You didn't factor in a lot of the change, the fact that there'd be other non-white groups coming here over a sustained period to compete with you for jobs, for attention, for just a piece of the pie. It wasn't just going to be us and our issues that we can look back and at those people marching on the Woolworths counter and, protesting and stuff. It's just not a forever thing. So let me move on to this point, because this is a little larger one, and I'll just probably riff on this for a second. The white man's values, his moral integrity, his culture, his class, which has excluded black men, has nothing to do with skin color, has everything to do with protecting his community and what his forefathers have built. That's the closing line, wrap it in a box, ship it off. That says so much, and I really love this comment in full. But that really just says so much. So again, it's not that the white man hates you, and so it's almost like this guilty party. It's almost like in a way, think of the story of the famous Edgar Allan Poe, The Telltale Heart. This guilt, this man he murdered and he buried in the floorboards. The cops come over and he's this heightened kind of sustained agitation and I didn't and it's kind of like explosion. Of guilt. That's a lot of what this feeling of, and I guess that actually kind of ties more to the other point. He knows that the white man is onto him. And so a lot of this was it was easy just to, started making videos, dating all these white women, running around, trashing black women, not for things that we could actually work on and fix, because that's never was the goal. It was never for black women to fix anything. I was watching a couple of videos at work today and listening to YouTube and sniffing around while I, did my, duties. And I'm like, oh, and there was, I can't remember what I was listening to. That got distracted. Didn't mean to sidetrack on there, but so let me just kind of hone in on this. I guess so much I can say about this point, but let me just tie this directly into, as I said before, more videos coming about the alt-right, the dissident right, and that scene, and kind of a comparative look at, in some ways, that there's things that I want to kind of talk about on that side of the table as it relates to us. A lot of, everybody talking about, oh, those white men are tiki torches, they so racist, and this, that, and the third. The funny ways, like, if I was to lift this comment up, I could place this on, Daily Stormer. I could place that part of the comment on Amarin. I could go place it on any other pretty much pro-white identity, white nationalist site, and it would get 1,000 thumbs up, if it was a white person saying it, or anyone, because that's literally what they want to do. They're just trying to preserve themselves and their people. Nobody wants to we've spent all this time thinking, white folks want to okay, remember when all the people, when niggas were sagging their pants all over the place, and then there's that brief window where white dudes started doing it, most of the white young guys, fratty guys, and they had their boxer shorts sticking out. They did that for maybe about maybe a year or two, and then maybe not even that long, then it was over. The gang culture, thug loving, loud bass speakers and stuff. You still get whites who do that, but it's almost like they know how to put it on and take it off. Like a young white guy can go to Hot Topic and be a goth for a few years, but then he moves on from that. By the time he's between 18 and 21, he has his fun time, and he can still, obviously we also have fun as adults, but they know him and the Asian men put that away between 21 and 35. They're working, they're building, they move on and do things. They marry, they produce children, they work, they live a pretty gainfully, just normal, successful adult life. So, protecting his community, what his forefathers have built. This is their Western civilization. Now, we can disagree about who shot John. Well, I guess going back to the original point, who was at the gate? So, they know that this black man was selling his people. They know that he was selling to the Arabs before the white man ever showed up on the scene. So, this is being here and having all this time together. I'm really not, gosh, I'm really, it's I have so much to say, but I'm really struggling to kind of verbalize it. So, he was protecting what his forefathers built. It's easy for us as a black people, and in America, and then just in general, to have all these feelings and angst and all this stuff, but we're here in this white Western society built on the thousands, almost 2,000 plus years of various European ethnic struggles, religious struggles, times when they were killing each other over somebody's version of the cross, over someone, the differences of a Nordic European, and Western European, and Eastern European. I mean, this is a long-standing society, and they have every right to and should be protecting what their forefathers have built. I think it was if you go back to one of my videos, it was a response to Ann X, and I talked about MPI. It's in the title, and I think I played a clip or a link of the tag video on I think it was Radix Journal or MPI's YouTube page. And it's this great, well produced 4-minute video, and just listen to Richard Spencer and watch all the images and graphics. I can lift this line and place that into there, because this is literally what they're trying to do and what they want to do. And I think, I guess in closing, what's so key about this comment as a whole, and just kind of going off that last line, is it's almost like what I think I really want to start doing this channel. I was starting to see this weird synthesis starting to occur, because as black women have walked through a lot of these paths, the divestment path, the swirling path, the black women empowerment path, all these different disparate little descriptors are slowly making us come into this kind of space where, whether it's complete or full, and I'm not saying it's 100%, but just in a very broad sense, I'm seeing black women in these circles, some of us, willingly or unwillingly, or even unknowingly, getting towards points where they're having the same conclusions that, that I individually read in spaces where I'm probably one of the only a few black people who not like trying to make myself a snowflake, but like, I read everything across the alt-right, this and right, plenty of podcasts and like things that even some of you as black women these things may agree with me on. You'd be surprised to know where I kind of sync up with them more on some things, or I'm trying to like, but I'm seeing where the two of you are actually saying the same thing. You have different goals, different objectives. Most of them are white and male. Most of us are black and women on this scene. On this side, but that we're moving towards similar conclusions, and I'm seeing you guys start to finally kind of, it's like not see, because like there's still something missing, but it's just these inadvertent ways that you're basically saying what they're saying. This doesn't mean that there aren't some people who just want to like, I'm just going to gas the kikes, race war now, just drop the N-bomb, blah, 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 on those sides. And they are not without faults, because I'm thinking about making a video about this. Actually, I'm going to have to, because there's some drama going on the alt-right, the Daily Stormer, TRS, Trad Worker Party, Richard Spencer, Matt Heimbach. There's a whole lot of messence drama over there that could be talked about. And because of a lot of their failings right now, and that have been going on for some time with that whole movement, it's almost a direct parallel to what just went down the past few weeks more over on this black woman side of YouTube and our kind of internet communities. But anyway, I just felt like that was a good comment to riff on tonight. And I'm going to get this uploaded. And I think I'll come back with another one. I want to make something to eat. And, another channel I like, I'm going to shout out because I'm going to go check on a video of hers. Miss Archduchess. Great black woman. She's been around, been on and off of the YouTubes and the scene for a minute. So I'm going to let this upload and check out her video. And I'm going to come back with another one. If it gets a little late, I might have to do it in the morning, but I tend to uploading over the weekend, trying out some new, doing some more experimenting, seeing what other things I can do to snazz up this channel. So, anywho, have a good night. I'll be back later. I'll be back sometime tomorrow. Either or. Thanks for listening. Like, share, and subscribe. Drop a comment below. And I'll catch you later.